What's going on, everybody? This is my 86 Porsche 944 Turbo. I've got it pretty stripped down at the moment, as you can see. Thought it might be nice to show anybody who owns one of these or is considering buying one what it looks like when you get the head off and the intake manifold off. When I bought this car, it had a broken exhaust manifold stud, which is not usually a big deal, but because this engine is kind of tilted over a few degrees, it's very difficult to find a way to properly extract an exhaust manifold stud because it's very close to the side of the engine here. And as some guys said, there may be a way to do it. I opted not to and removed the head, which is now at the shop getting refinished and repaired. Apparently there was a broken spring and some other stuff, so it'll come back to me refreshed and ready to go. When I was removing the head, I had some trouble. There's actually 12 fasteners that hold the head on. There's these 10 big studs, and they have washers and bolts or nuts that go on there. And then there's two hex head bolts that go here and kind of secure this little coolant passage here. They both broke as soon as I put a wrench on them. And I did heat the housing here. I used penetrating oil. I shocked it with a hammer. I kind of did everything you're meant to do, and they were just so seized in there that they broke, unfortunately. And I couldn't get the head off, even though the head of the hex bolt had broken. It was so seized into the aluminum, I guess just because of the dissimilar metals being steel and aluminum together, it just would not budge. And I was kind of prying here, and the head would not budge. And so I decided to try extracting these hex bolts. With this one here, I drilled into it and started slowly with my extractor. And unfortunately, I actually split this, not this part here, but on the head, the piece that meets this, I split the corner off, which sucks. So the head shop was able to repair that, no big deal, and I ended up having a welder come and weld nuts on these and thread them out. So it's all good now, but a bit of a disappointing annoyance. But anyway, onward. While I have the engine apart like this, I'm planning to reseal. I've done a lot of work on this car in the last 6 months already, including timing and balance shaft belts, but I did them 6 months ago when I bought it, and I thought if I'm going to go this deep, it just, I don't know, what are they, 20, 30 bucks? It just didn't make sense to put the same belts back on, so I've ordered all new front-end seals, belts, rollers, tensioners, and of course a water pump and thermostats, both the standard and the turbo thermostat, new hoses, both coolant and vacuum. So a bunch of money spent here now, but I'm happy that I'm getting it all done. In addition to resealing the front of the engine, I'm also doing the oil cooler housing, which you can see is removed right there, and then the balance shaft housing is off as well. That's over here, and that's going to be getting resealed while I'm doing this whole job. My big annoyance right at the moment is I would like to reseal this upper balance shaft as well, but it does not look like it's going to be possible to remove this cover without pulling the turbo off. And removing the turbo is not a small job, even when you're stripped this far down. There's some very odd hex head bolts that you have to get to from underneath, and then of course they're known to break. And then that opens up a whole new world of drilling out and stuff like that. So I'd really like to avoid it. The turbo seems like it's in good shape. There's not a lot of shaft play, so I think I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to try to reseal the rear of this with RTV. I actually can. If I reach back there, you can actually hear it. You hear that? That's the little aluminum disc at the back of the balance shaft. So it's not secure in there at all. The old O-ring is shriveled, and so I'm going to get back there with a brass brush and some RTV and some brake cleaner and try to clean it up enough that I can use some RTV to seal it, which is definitely not my first choice, but I'd really rather leave this balance shaft where it is, or sorry, the balance shaft cover where it is until I have a reason to pull the turbo out, which I don't know when that'll happen, but I've read some good reviews about people using RTV. So I'm going to give that a try. But this car is kind of the king of while you're in there projects, being 40 years old. It's, you know, you start taking things apart and the clamps are all in rough shape and the hoses are all in rough shape and the seals are all in rough shape. And so you just kind of, well, if I'm taking this off, I may as well do that, and I may as well do that, and it just goes and goes and goes. So I think I've listed most of what I'm doing. I have the fuel injectors out getting serviced at the moment as well. And then I'm also going to take this opportunity to replace this, which is, I think the power steering reservoir has a filter that's integrated and can't be replaced. So I'm going to replace that, as well as the 2 lines that come off of it. And then I have a spare power steering pump that I'll rebuild at some point, and probably see if I can get a rebuilt rack as well. But yeah, it's not, I love driving this car, but it's not a super easy car to work on. I've been fixing cars for 20 plus years, and this is one of the more difficult ones for sure. But I love driving it. It's just such a beautiful car to drive that I figure it's worth the effort. So for anybody else who is considering a 951 or a 944 turbo, as they're more commonly called, this is kind of what you could be facing for, you know, for something as simple as a broken exhaust manifold stud, which, by the way, I'm told they're known for that. So anyway, I'll take another video once I get it all back together and running again, and we'll see you then.